Hey there, creative peeps. Let freedom ring. We are on our 7th month of our 12 months to wholeness through creativity, where we're making beauty from ashes, although I'm not quite sure that this month will focus on the beauty, but we are bringing pieces together to create peace regardless. And what we are working on through this summer is just playing. No artistic skill needed, but we are just going to have fun with our art projects. Summertime is for playing, and you need to give yourself permission to play. Do some brain wiring, get you out of the stuck habits of fearing what to do next and just following your gut. We're going to try it rather than stress over it, and we are just going to go for whatever comes. As I said in the blog post, 3 main things for this: giving yourself permission to play, and just finding that stress-free, carefree place to play with your art supplies. You're going to find your wonder by just trying whatever comes up, following your whims, and you're going to give yourself permission to make ugly art and to take a chance and to not beat yourself up, to not stress out over the mistakes. Again, it's just paper. We're not changing lives with this. Nobody has to see it but us. This is just for us to de-stress and expand our creativity. We've been in our world in a pretty stressful time the last few months. I think everybody's life probably has some new stresses in it, and so I just want you to let go of those this summer and learn to move forward with no expectations. We're going to follow a 3-second rule, and that is, if you don't know what to do, you got 3 seconds to think about it. And after those 3 seconds, you either make a decision and go with something or move on to a next page and do something else. This is kind of like when I taught my kids free writing, that they just keep writing. You're just going to keep creating. Just like Dory, just keep swimming. You're going to add whatever comes to your mind. And if it's the wrong thing, oh well, you've learned a lesson. Oh well is one of my favorite words these last few years. If it's not sin, then it's oh well. Failures and mistakes are just opportunities to learn what doesn't work. So we are going to experiment with things, and we're going to experience new things. That's 2 ways to learn, and you can learn from others' experiments that gave them experience also. So we may follow some guidelines, but it's more like those guidelines are there to direct us into, if I do this, these are the consequences. What consequences do I want? There's not a right or a wrong to this. This is just your playtime. So I want to encourage you to stay on the playground, to not wander off into the danger zone where you're fearful, you're stuck, all frozen up, but to stay on the playground where you're carefree, having fun, and just going from place to place as the whim hits you. So as I said in the post, we are going to work on monoprinting and create some backgrounds. We are not going to worry about completing anything or putting together a composed art composition at this point. We are just going to make some pretty backgrounds and maybe some ugly backgrounds, and we will work on what we're going to do with them later. Dina Wakley has a quote that I love: if you play every day, good things will happen to you artistically and mentally. So that is what we are going to do. So I told you there's 3 main categories of supplies, And we are going to start with that category of paper. As I said, you can use almost any type or any thickness of paper, everything from a very thin tissue paper, just plain old white tissue paper will work for this. You can use thin copy paper, just what you use in your printer. I prefer the heavier one even for my printing, that's more of a 28 to 32 pounds, at least 24 pounds rather than the standard 20 pound, but whatever you enjoy working with. Cardstock, again, I prefer the little bit lighter instead of the 110 pound that I use for card making. I prefer more like the 65 pound and lighter weight cardstock, just because I don't like real thick for my booklets. One of my favorites to use is the mixed media paper. This is a 98 pound, and this size will make a 5x7 book if you fold them in half. I'd actually like to get the 9x12 so I can make a little bit different size that I'd like, but this is my favorite to work on. It's got just a little bit of texture, not too much. It's pretty smooth, and so I like working on this. You could use book pages, any type of book or music page would work. You could use envelopes, like the return envelopes you get in your bills would work. You can use pattern paper, your scrapbook paper, the ugly ones that you're never going to use for anything else. You can do the back sides of those, and if you're using an opaque paint, you can even cover the front of them. You can use cardboard. Could use like cereal boxes and those types of things, or even packing boxes. The heavier cardboard can work. You can use a pre-made traveler's notebook journal, and that's the size we're going to make. This is a standard traveler's notebook size, and I put those sizes in the blog post too, so you can see what standard sizes are that would put in a traveler's notebook case that would fit in there. Some of them come with papers already in them. This one I really like. This is Dilutions, Diane Reevely's, and it's got a good mixed media paper weight in it, and it is saddle stitched, sewn through the center, so that's a good size that would fit in there. You can buy other ones. These ones I picked up on clearance. They have thinner paper in them. It's a little bit heavier than the copy paper. This one's a little bit smaller. This one's a little bit wider, but has the thinner paper in it. This one's, again, a little bit wider and taller, just different sizes, different numbers of papers in them. We're going to talk, I'm hoping to get to doing a tutorial on making your own traveler's notebook cover. These are just a couple that I picked up off of clearance at Tuesday Morning in Michael's, I think. But what a traveler's notebook is it has elastics in it so that you can put your notebooks. This one's not going to fit in here. It's the wrong size, but it's a little too tall, but they fit in the elastics in here. And so you can put your notebook together the same way that we learned to make our journals in January's project, just punching, doing a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, punching and sewing them together. You can either do them before you do your backgrounds on them, or you can do them after you've got them and then rearrange them in the order that you want them. Like I said, you can put more than one, and you can get different pockets and other types of things you can add in with them. With the bands, you can add many, many notebooks in, so you could get several in here and work on different ones, or at the same time, or have different ones for different purposes. So we are going to start with that paper. Let me clear all this out of the way, and I will be back in just a minute for our next step and the next supplies that we're going to need. Okay, let's take a look at some of the supplies that we're going to use for our monoprinting. For monoprinting, the main thing that you use is a gel plate with acrylic paint. This is a gel plate. It's kind of like a silicone. It's squishy. This one is Gel Press brand. They come in a clamshell plastic case with the plastic on both sides. You just have to remove it from the one side if you want, or you can take it off of both sides. This is a 5x7. It's a good inexpensive size to get started with. Comes in 8x10s, I believe even like 12x16, I don't know, bigger size. I also like having just a few of the shapes: circle, triangle, square. There's another set that has hexagon and a couple other shapes with it. But this is what we're going to use to do our monoprinting with. To get your ink spread on here, you use a brayer, a hard rubber brayer. This one is the normal size that you can find at Hobby Lobby and some of the other big box craft stores. I actually prefer working with the smaller one, especially on this traveler notebooks size journals. So that's going to be the main way that we're applying our paint to our gel plates. Again, I've listed some of the brands and sent some links, given you some links to a few things for you to try there. We're going to obviously have acrylic paints. Any acrylic paints you have or can get will work. You're going to find the ones that you like best and want to use. I am really loving Diane Reedley's Dilutions. They're a great consistency and translucency. I love those things about them, that it just fits the way that I like to work. The Tim Holtz Distress paints are pretty close to the same. Like all the other Distress lines, they reactivate when they get wet. I used to have a lot of the cheap craft paints that you can get like at Walmart and such. Those would work if that's what you have. I don't have any of those anymore, but you could try those. I did pick up, I haven't used them yet, I probably will within these videos, this cheap set at Michael's. It was $6 minus the coupon that I had, but even at $6, that would have been 50 cents a tube for these colors. They're a little bit thicker, not quite as fluid. They're not a total heavy bodied, but a little bit more. So I'm going to give them a try and just see how they compare to what I'm enjoying working with so far. So you've got your paints, your gel plates, your brayer. Let's see, I like these two. These are paint pens. If you want to add some details, the black and the white are the ones you'll use the most. Again, I like my Dilutions one. I've also got this one of a different thickness that I just picked up at Hobby Lobby. Our little blender handle and foams that we used with our ink, we can also use with our acrylic paints. You need different foams, obviously, a new set of foams for your colors of your paints than what you used in your inks, but those will work for some of the techniques we're going to do. Another thing, just a package of cosmetic wedges from drugstore, Walmart, wherever. We'll use some of those. Palette knives, maybe. Again, just a cheap set. Paint brushes, maybe. I don't use them a whole lot, but occasionally. And this is called a fine line bottle that you can put your paint in, and it has an actual needle tip to it to get a very fine line if you want to draw or write with a very fine line with your paint, finer than your bottle of paint has. So that is some options. Let me see if I'm missing anything on this. Oh, my backgrounds here, you want your work surface covered unless it's some type of surface you don't care about. I'm doing these videos on my dining room table, so I definitely do care about that. I've just got a silicone sheet here. Any type of craft mat that you have would work for that. That's where I put my paper and do my actual work, is on this mat. This is the mat that goes with the Tim Holtz glass media mat. It's just a slick palette surface that wipes off easily, so that works great for me to use as a palette when I want to squirt out ink. And then I just keep a big sheet of packing paper underneath everything there, just to cover my table and keep it from getting messed up. Other cleanup items, I guess, while I'm right here. My good old paint towel that you've probably seen in some of my other inky videos, and my distress sprayer work great for cleaning things. Obviously a jar of water to rinse out brushes or anything. Paper towels to sop up any excess ink, or you could use your spray in your bottle for those, and or baby wipes is another good thing that you can use for cleaning up. As you'll notice, I do not clean all my surfaces in making these art journals and monoprints. You can get some awesome prints by leaving them dirty and grungy like this rather than cleaning them up. But because these are all water-based products, when you do go to clean them up, pretty much soap and water is all that it takes. Even your brushes, if you leave them out too long, Murphy soap is a good cleaner for those. So there's one or two things that we do want to clean, and I'll get to those when we show those products. But these are the basics that you need: your gel plates, your brayer, your paints, and then something to cover your surface with. And that could take care of pretty much it. In the next section, we're going to talk about texture tools for making marks and different designs in your art journaling pages. And so we're going to look at ones both that you can buy and ones of just found things around your house. So really, if you bought, which you want to use 2 or 3 colors, either warm colors or cool colors, on each page for your starting. You can add more than that later, but that's your basic 2 or 3 colors, warm or cool. You might want to get 2 or 3 neutrals that you could add in with that. But basically, if you had none of the supplies you needed, and you bought a plate with a coupon at Hobby Lobby, you bought a brayer with a coupon at Hobby Lobby, you bought 3 to 5 colors of paint that went together for about $20. Even if you had no supplies at all to get started, you could get started in doing this. So let's pause again for a second, and I'll clear these out and bring in the texture tools, and we'll talk a little bit about them. The last category we're going to look at today is our texture tools, or something to make marks and designs in our monoprints. The first set is you can actually purchase texture tools that are made specifically for monoprinting. These texture brushes that I have different shaped designs that you can use to make designs. This set actually happens to be on the end of brushes. And again, of course, these are something that I picked up at 75 or 80% off. So I have those. Your palette knives, you can draw designs with those in your paint. An old room card you can use just as is, or you can cut designs on the edge to make a design in your paint. Plastic canvas is another one that can make a print and a design. So if you have old craft supplies for crafts that you may not be doing anymore, like the plastic canvas, you might have some things like this laying around. This is 3 different types of shelf liners that I had scraps left over from. Those work awesome. in your packing. Bubble wrap works great for making designs. Any kind of bottle or lid will get you different sized round designs, or even toilet paper or paper towel rolls can be used for that. Another bottle cap here. Can look in nature, feathers, flowers, leaves, those types of things. Packaging, your plastic packaging that things come in, you can cut shapes out of those, triangles, squares. Doubt if you can see that one. It's a heart, a wonky oval, I guess there, rectangle, wonky circle, whatever designs you can cut out of the plastic. You could use your die cut machine to cut any of your die cuts out of and use them as a mask. You could use pre-purchased die cuts and just lay them down and use them as a mask. Comb, you can buy a whole bag of them for $1 at Dollar Tree. The ones with the teeth spaced further apart are going to work best, but I bet you could even cut out, because I know in the old days we used to bend the tines out and cut them off, so you could space, even if they have close spaced ones, you could bend them and cut them off to make them a little further apart, and you can make designs with that. One of my favorites though is to use stencils, and we're going to show you several of those things. These ones are dilutions. I love them because they're made specifically to fit in your traveler's notebook. Just put them around your notebook insert inside your traveler's notebook, and you get 4 different designs on each one there. This one is 6 different border designs. These are dilutions also, which are just the small stencils. She also has larger size ones. Some more dilutions. This one's Jane Davenport, the same thing, several different designs on one that folds to fit in a traveler's notebook. This came with that, and these are actually for washi tape, but again, you could use them to draw a design. Dina Wakley. This one is Heidi Swap. It comes with a design and your big heart cutout stencil and your heart mask. So you can get several different designs with that one set. Again, purchased for about 75% off at Tuesday morning. I've got all my Tim Holtz stencils that I use for my inks. I can use them also with my paints and Monoprinting. This is a inexpensive set that I got, $7 minus my 40% coupon, for 10 different stencils. And this is made, these ones are made of cardboard, but they hold up pretty good with the acrylic paints, and you've got several different designs here that you can use. And go back into the crafts section of your craft store, the just miscellaneous crafts, and you can find all kinds of stencils in all kinds of sizes and designs for pretty much any design you're looking for will work. So those are one of my favorite things to use, and you'll see in my demonstrations anyhow, there's probably going to be stencils on every page I make. The last thing that I want to share with you here that you can use is your rubber stamps. And I told you I don't clean most of my applicator tools and things, but the rubber stamps are the one things that I do clean. You can use them with your archival ink to stamp onto your design, but you can also stamp with your acrylic paint. If you stamp with your acrylic paint, and again, you can use the wood-mounted ones, you can use the background ones, you can use the smaller cling ones. I've got a set of alphabet ones here. Some more backgrounds. You've probably seen these before. But what I do to clean them is I have a shallow container. This one has the sides cut out of it. If you've got like a Glad food container about this size and shape, anything that will hold your stamps, if you've got the cutouts, be sure it's on something to protect your surface. But just put a few layers of paper towels in there, soak them really well. Then as soon as you've used your stamp in your acrylic ink, throw it in there on top of the water to soften that up while you finish working on your project, and then wipe it off really well to get it clean. So that works great for this. Your stencils, if you want to clean them, I tend to clean the ones that I use with my inking projects, but if they're ones that I mainly use with my acrylics, then I don't always clean them, as you have seen, but I sure can at any time if I decide I want to use these with my inks, or if I decide the build-up's getting too big, I can just put them in there, press it, let it soak for a while, and then wipe it off with a baby wipe, paper towel, regular towel. If I need to, I can take a fingernail brush to scrub it a little bit to get it extra clean. If it's really stubborn, I can use the Murphy's oil soap on those. So I think that's all of our supplies. So I'll clean things off here, and I'll be back with another video shortly to show you what we're actually going to do with all of this stuff. So go gather your supplies and get ready to create and have fun in our playground.